Hey guys, we're here with Instructor Zero. Welcome to the USCCA YouTube page. If you haven't been here before, you are a world-class firearms instructor. We've heard great stories about you. People are usually familiar with the material you put out. Pretty unique, very creative for sure. So can you give us a little bit of history about you? Where can people find you as well? How can they get off this video and then go to you?
Yeah. So, good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you to invite me here.
Absolutely.
And for me, it's always a pleasure to be in the United States and to have the chance to spread the word and meet so much people because this is my second home.
Yep.
Very fast. I was born in Airborne Brigade. No, I mean I was born in Italy, but I grew up in Africa, and then I started to have my in 1979 I was the first time that I was in touch with some problems because we received at that period in the south part of Africa was pretty tough, like in Rhodesia or in Zambia. So my experience with this kind of war, I was a kid, but I started from that period. In 1981 was the first time I see someone executed on the street. So,
Gotcha.
And from that period, I came. I grew up there, and then I went back in Italy. I completed my studies, and then I started in Airborne Brigade. And then during my service, I had a bad injury in my left knee, so my Plan A was done. And at that point, I was how I can arrive to the goal. And I said, doesn't matter if I need to do Plan B or Plan C or whatever. I need to arrive to the goal. That's my life. This is how I want to live. So I went back in Africa. I started working in private, and I continued to study. I never stopped study to study my life. I still doing even now. I graduated in investigation and security and science of formations. So I teach for 12 years inside university, and I work working all around the world, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Africa, East Europe, Balkans, South America a lot, United States, Europe, everywhere. And this is my best luck. My best experience is this. I had the chance, the luck to work with some of the best professionals in the world, especially some of the best professionals in different kind of environments. This make a difference because if I can say that if I teach one, I receive it 1,000.
Awesome.
So I've been in this industry more or less around 25 years, and so I'm a professional student. I'm a rookie. I'm still a rookie, and probably I'm not even at the base of the mountain. So I need to start. This is I always say about myself. Professional student, part-time instructor. That's part-time educator. That is, and so this is a short story long. This is what happened, and my biggest luck is exactly this: the chance to have worked in a jungle, in different kind of jungles, or desert, or savanna, or different kind of environments, and I had under my training all the human radix that we have in the planet. I mean. We are working now in 27 countries, so it's pretty tough. As soon as I finish here, I'm going to back in Middle East again on the 1st of June, and that's it.
Yeah, so you're going all over the place. And I know that you've had a pretty incredible background, right? You've had some unfortunate circumstances that you've definitely turned around, and you used them to educate everybody else, including sitting here right now and giving us this content that we can provide to our viewers. It's a crazy thing that you do to be so creative with how you do it that people pay attention.
Yeah. So this is. I think that I'm pretty sure that there are tons of people with more experience than me, with more knowledge, with more skills than me. This for me is good because it's the reason every morning to watch my face on the mirror and say we need to do more, to improve, to increase. But I'm not the kind of guy I'm the first of the class. I'm not at all. I'm the last one. Yeah. I mean. At the same time, I dedicate my life to research on training and training with firearms, different ways to approach the material. Because I think that think about martial arts.
Okay.
How many years ago they created martial arts? 2,000 years ago,
nobody-
right?
yeah.
When at that time they didn't have the technology that we have today, they didn't have the knowledge that we have today, they didn't have the conditions that we have today. But what we did, what we did in 2,000 years, nothing. We just adapt on what they did 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
We stopped to research, we stopped to create, it's easier to adapt, it's easier to copy, it's easier to remain in the same step instead to take a risk,
Yeah.
to make a lot of sacrifices and try to improve. But the difference is between 2,000 years ago and now, the society is completely different. So now it's so fast. So we need to adapt. We need to change our dynamics, even in training. We need to change our methodology. We need to create. And you know what? In this industry, there are tons of false information, tons of myths, tons of legend. And this is the reason why we are here, why we came from one weekend from the other side of the world. Because as an educator, as an instructor, you must give your contribute. You must spread the word. We need to educate. We should work together. And a lot of dramas here, as always. It's something that we need to avoid. Because I think that one professional that talk bad about another profession is not a professional at all. We need to push our students to join different training courses because we need to keep out our ego and we need to remember that we provide a service. And the service is to bring the student on their goal. If you are sure about your job, if you are sure about what you are telling to them, and if you are sure to give them 100%, you don't need to be scared about your student, except if for you the students are money and if you are jealous about your ego. Otherwise, there is no reason. And this is.
Yeah, and it creates, I think, a lot of conversations where you just said it, there's a lot of instructors that they're not open to having the conversation. It is their way, and that's how it's going to be. And it affects those students because then the students have that same attitude. So somebody that has a closed mind that's going to come to your class, or if you're going to give somebody advice and they say, well, this is how I do it, I'm not going to change my ways, how do you reflect into that kind of person, and how do you push them to evolve their training past what it's at?
So what we do, first of all, I'm a big fan of one main filter above everything, except safety. Safety always serves the first. But the main filter for me is the logic. Anything, whatever is the technical option or the technical point, it must make sense, but not in a controlled environment like a shooting range. It might make sense on real life, on uncontrolled environment, because if it makes sense all in a shooting range, it's not useful, right?
Yeah, it's not really useful information.
Or it depends who you are. If you are a competitive shooter, that's good for you. It makes sense in the shooting range. It's your environment. It's your training environment. It's your applicative environment. So great. But if
that's a great hole in that piece of cardboard, but that's not going to do you much good.
Yeah, exactly. If you are anyone that want to use a firearm for defense, at that point, must make sense in a real context. So the logic first. So as an educator, as an instructor, we need to simplify the material. We don't need to complicate the material. Sometimes many people, they try to complicate because they want to cover a lack of experience or lack of knowledge.
With more words.
If you are sure about what you are telling, if you know your job, you need to simplify for the students. And you need to be sure that the students, they understand. One of my best or bigger failure that I can have is exactly this. If one of my students, maybe 1 month later a course, talking with someone and someone asked him why you are doing this, and he said, I don't know, zeroed in on the course, that for me is a big failure. Because I always say, if I want to share with you something, if I want to teach you something, I need to explain you why, the technical reason, the logical application, and if I'm not able to do it, this means that I don't want to say bad word, but what I'm telling you, it's just
because at that point you're saying that for you it's it's more important that people come away from your class or your content, even just the stuff you post maybe, that they understand why you are saying what you're saying versus just doing it. Because repeating something doesn't necessarily help.
Exactly. This is, you don't need to imitate someone, you need to understand. Because if you don't understand a technical option, you never apply that option in real context, because if you don't understand the point, the technical point of the reasons, you are not able, when you need it, to apply it. So at that point, it's done. So we need to explain, and I always tell to my students, if I forget to tell you why, please ask me. And if I'm not able to explain you, kick my ass, because I'm telling you. Betting.
So what made you make the transfer? It's not really a transformation, but you added to your own training ability by starting to post content online. So what made you go from only doing in-person stuff to being willing to put your information online and being accountable for the fact that it's online now?
So basically what we start to do training to provide formations, and with government agencies, and we work mainly with units. We started in 2006. So in 2012, I think, with a Canadian company, a Thanker, they asked me if I was interested to do some social media stuff. But at the time, for me, I didn't know what were social media, what they were. And so I said, let's start. But I was not rookie, really under rookie. And it was an experiment, but I said, it's in the United States, it's firearms, I was a little bit scared, and then we started in that way, and there it's where we was born Instructor Zero. Sometimes it make me laugh, because I work with my name and master name always. It's not difficult to find my real name, master name, but it's a filter. And if I can tell you now, after 6 years of social media, was a good decision. We had a lot of problem in the past with people that they clone my real name, my name, but for the clearances and all the stuff for us is a little bit more complicated. So we have investigation up, and so a lot of trouble. So social media, but it's a filter. I mean, sometimes when they call me Instructor Zero, it's funny, because I'm a doctor and I work with my name and surname.
You have a name, right? So
but it's Zero. Everybody calls me Zero, even in my family.
Everybody just calls it Zero. Well, I mean, it definitely, it's proven itself it developed into a personality that you're highly respected for the content that you put out, and people seek out your training, and not just through you. For example, I know that you're really close with the CERT guys, and those guys pass information that they've received from you, and they're the same as you. I've heard Mike Hughes say it all the time. I'm a student always. I'm a student always. I'm a student always. And it's something that he's passed down to me and to other instructors at our company. And it's a crazy feeling when you have that mindset switch of, I don't need to be the best instructor in the world. I need to be a good, safe, responsible instructor. But if I don't continue to improve, my students they're not going to get the best benefit out of my instruction as they can.
That is a loop, the magic loop. You need to always to train yourself back on the base, back on the foundation of shooting. That people, this is another very common mistake. People avoid the word basic, avoid the word basic training or foundations, because everything is advanced, everything is tactical ninja stuff, great. But the base, even a shooter that bought the gun 1 week before, it's already a professional shooter. It's because they finish on Sunday, they after 1 week they finish the rookie period and become a professional. And this is a big mistake, because every time I train myself, because I don't have people, they think that I live and I sleep inside the shooting range, have a bed between the target 3 and target worked for, but that is a dream life. My dream life is to wake up in the morning, go to the gym, then go on a shooting range. But this is a dream. The real life, the reality is that I need to work, and I working in so many countries.
Yeah.
I pass more time on some time in the air than in the ground. But you don't have time to train yourself. And when you train other people, it's not like you train yourself. So when I train myself, I every time I step back on the foundation. Foundation plus experience can save your life.
Yeah.
And it's a good way. So again, the magic loop is back on the foundation, continues to study, refresh, improve, start again.
Okay.
This is how it works. So we never stop to study. And every time I work shoulder to shoulder with different professionals, now we are working, for example, we are working on, we are developing some, we think that details, they make the difference.
Okay.
So now we are working, for example, on the isometry of the eye to improve the muscles of the eye. We are working on some specific drill of brain process because our methodology is based on the brain process.
Okay.
And so now we are working in this field because we have the big problem. Remember, is this. So what sometimes people they don't think is that everybody that works. So if we take a competitive shooter, as we said, the competitive shooter trains himself inside the shooting range, right? Mm-hmm. And so the training environment for him is the shooting range, but he does competition. He apply what he learned in training. Yeah. On competition, right? And the competition are made inside the shooting range. So the training environment and the applicative environment are exactly the same. Yep. Same variables, same parameters, can change the morphology of the shooting range, but same environment, yep. Right? Everybody, doesn't count who, military, law enforcement, civilian with a different license, civilian with passion, whatever. Everybody else that works with or use a firearm for defense, we train in the same kind of environment, and this is the reason why sometimes there is some confusion between the two words. We use the same tool and we train in the same environment, but where we apply what we learn in training in a kind of environment that is totally different. Yeah. There is nothing in common between the real contest and the shooting range.
Yeah, it's planned versus extremely chaotic.
Extremely. Yeah. This is a shooting range. This is a real. So in a shooting range are flat, are controlled environment because inside a shooting range you have rules. In the real contest there are no rules, or there are laws, but we need to respect the laws. Mm-hmm. Who is going to?
Person attacking you does
yes,
not. Yeah.
They
don't
already
care
break
what the law
everything.
is.
So we are the only. I wrote in my book there are only two subjects that are going to use a firearm in a real contest, but only one. He must avoid the collaterals, the collateral damages, or only one must respect the laws. The other is not. So it's the same way. I wrote, there are only two ways to do training, but only one will be effective and can save your life. The other one, no, because you can train. There are only two ways to train. Or you train in the proper way, or you train in the wrong way. Yep. And the only way you have, the only chance you have to translate what you do in training in a kind of environment that is completely different is by applying the proper methodology. If you don't apply the proper methodology, you won't be able to translate the benefit, and you can't be efficient on the real life.
Gotcha. Awesome. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? What's the easiest way online, I guess, for people to get to you and just kind of start learning your methodologies of training?
So what we apply normally is the 3% of what we do, but they can go on Instructor Zero on Facebook, on Instagram Instructor Zero, or Twitter, and then www.instructorzero.com. Okay. There you can find a bio, you can find some cool pictures around the world about experiences and all the stuff.
All right, awesome. Thanks for joining us, guys. As always, follow our content, stay with us, like, comment, subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you think of the methodologies, and we'll try to connect with you. Thanks.